Her silence was not an answer. It was a diagnosis, a cold, clinical assessment of your internal state, delivered without a single word. You're staring at the phone, aren't you? Reading the last message you sent, the one that sits there, naked and exposed under the cold blue light of a seen notification. You've read it a dozen times, 100. You've dissected every letter, every space, every choice of punctuation, searching for the fatal error. You're looking for the mistake in the code, the one wrong move that caused the entire system to crash. But you're looking in the wrong place. The flaw wasn't in the message. The flaw was the man who sent it. She didn't just leave you unread. She held up a mirror, and you shattered. She didn't reject you. She exposed a fundamental weakness in your foundation, a crack in your reality that you've been desperately trying to patch over with a pleasing personality and carefully crafted words. You thought you were playing a game of chess, moving pieces with calculated precision. You were wrong. Patient on an operating table, and her indifference was the scalpel that cut through the anesthesia, revealing the disease you refused to admit you had. This is the moment where the comforting lies of modern romance die. The hollow reassurances that tell you to just be yourself. The empty platitudes that preach vulnerability as a strength. They are useless here. They are children's stories in the face of a primal, biological truth. This is the moment where the ghost of a long-dead philosopher, Arthur Schopenhauer, enters the room. He doesn't offer a shoulder to cry on. He doesn't tell you it's her loss. He looks at your pathetic attempt to gain her validation, at your desperate need for a sign of her approval, and he delivers the verdict with brutal efficiency. A woman's instinct is the most ruthlessly honest lie detector ever created. It is not designed to be fair. It is not designed to be kind. It is a biological mechanism, honed over millennia, for a single, merciless purpose: to detect strength and to be repulsed by weakness. Your carefully constructed persona, your attempts to be the nice guy, your strategic compliments, they were all just noise. Her instincts bypassed the words and scanned the signal underneath. And the signal you were broadcasting was one of need, of a hollow core. You weren't a potential partner. You were a project, a liability, an energy drain. In the cold, hard currency of primal attraction, you were bankrupt. Before we proceed to dismantle the architecture of your failure and rebuild it from the ground up, I require your first act of conscious command. This is not a request, it is an order. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion. Activate all notifications so you never miss a transmission. And press the like button as a signal of your commitment to eradicating the weakness within. Then, go to the comments. I want you to declare your battlefield. Tell me the city and country from which you are launching this war against your former self. Let the world witness the birth of a new network of men who refuse to be ignored. You see, you have been programmed to believe that attraction is a negotiation. That if you say the right things, do the right things, and present the right evidence, you can logically persuade a woman to desire you. This is the greatest deception sold to the modern man. Attraction is not a debate in a courtroom. It is a verdict delivered by the reptilian brain. It is a visceral, nonverbal, and instantaneous reaction. When you were with her, or texting her, your body was betraying you. The slight hesitation in your voice. The way your eyes sought her approval after you told a joke. The subtle upward inflection in your tone, turning statements into questions. The anxious energy radiating from you, a desperate plea to be liked, to be chosen. You were a supplicant, begging for scraps of attention from the throne. You were performing for an audience of one, and she was not impressed. Schopenhauer understood this on a profound level. He wrote of the will to life, a blind, striving, unconscious force that drives all existence. This will, in the context of attraction, is not interested in your poetry or your promises. It is interested in survival, in power, in vitality. Her instincts are the gatekeepers of this will. When she looked at you, her instincts weren't asking, "Is he a good person?" They were asking, "Is he strong? Is his reality solid? Can he impose his will upon the world? Or is he a leaf in the wind, tossed about by the opinions and validations of others?" Your desperate need for her approval answered that question for her, long before you even opened your mouth. You failed the test before it was even administered. The pain you feel right now is not the problem. The problem is that you believe the pain is the end of the story. You see her indifference as a final judgment on your worth. You are mistaken. Her indifference is not a closing door. It is an unwilling invitation. It is a gift, wrapped in the barbed wire of rejection. She has given you the most valuable data you will ever receive, a raw, unfiltered report on your own internal deficiencies. Most men will take this data and use it to build a shrine to their own misery. They will curse her. They will retreat into bitterness and resentment. They will become ghosts, haunting the periphery of life, forever defined by a rejection they never understood. But you will not be one of them. You will take this pain, this burning humiliation, and you will alchemize it. You will use it as fuel. Because she didn't just expose a weakness. She revealed the exact location where you must now begin to build a fortress. The chilling emptiness you feel is not an abyss. It is a construction site. It's the cleared ground upon which you will erect a new version of yourself. A man whose sense of self is so absolute, so internally generated, that the approval of any single woman becomes a pleasant compliment, but never a necessity. The ultimate power is not to make her want you. The ultimate power is to build a reality so compelling, so sovereign, that her attraction is an inevitable, biological consequence. It ceases to be a choice she makes and becomes an instinct she cannot fight. The question is no longer, how do I get her back? That is the question of a boy. The question you must now ask is, how do I forge myself into the man that her very nature is incapable of dismissing? That is the question of a king. And the answer is not outside of you. It is a weapon, locked away in the deepest dungeon of your own mind. She didn't just ignore you. She handed you the key. The only question that remains is if you have the courage to descend into the darkness and claim it. Let us dissect the anatomy of your downfall. It was not a sudden catastrophe. It was a slow, creeping infection, a series of small, almost imperceptible surrenders that accumulated until the entire structure of your authority collapsed. You think her final act of indifference was the cause of death, but the autopsy reveals a pre-existing condition. You were already dead inside. She merely signed the certificate. This process, this strategic deconstruction of the masculine frame, follows a predictable and pathetic pattern. It begins with the first concession. The first stage is always emotional concession. It seems harmless, even noble. It is the moment you decide that maintaining her emotional comfort is more important than upholding your own standard, your own reality. Remember that time she was inexcusably late, and a storm of irritation was brewing inside you? Because your time, your most finite resource, had been disrespected. But when she finally arrived, offering a flimsy, half-hearted excuse, you saw the slight pout on her lips, the preemptive defense in her eyes, and you folded. You said, "It's okay, don't worry about it." In that instant, you taught her a critical lesson. Your boundaries are negotiable. Your standards are conditional. Your emotional state is secondary to hers. You absorbed her irresponsibility to avoid a moment of her discomfort. Schopenhauer would not call this kindness. He would call it a denial of your own will. You subordinated your own drive for order and respect to her chaotic emotional impulse. Her primal instinct, the ruthless accountant of power dynamics, made a note in its ledger. He is manageable. He can be bent. It starts here. At work, it's the colleague who offloads their work onto you with a sob story, and you accept, sacrificing your own productivity for their relief. With friends, it's the one who constantly cancels plans last minute, and you say, "No problem," devaluing your own social calendar to placate their flakiness. The first concession is the first drop of poison. From there, you slide inevitably into the second stage, the loss of frame control. Your reality begins to dissolve. Your plans become mere suggestions. Your decisions are no longer firm directives, but opening bids in a negotiation you are destined to lose. You suggest a restaurant for dinner. She makes a face and says, "I'd rather go somewhere else." An assertive man would hold the frame, perhaps by saying, "We're going to my choice tonight. We can try yours next time." His reality is solid, but you, already conditioned by emotional concession, immediately caved. Okay, sure. Where do you want to go? You handed her the steering wheel of your life. You signaled that your desires are flimsy and easily discarded. She tested. You yielded. She won. This happens in 1,000 subtle ways. You state an opinion on a film, she disagrees, and you immediately soften your stance. Well, I guess I can see your point. You lay out a plan for the weekend, she proposes a complete alternative, and you adopt it without a fight. You have become a passenger in your own existence. Her instinct doesn't register this as flexibility. It registers it as a lack of conviction. As Schopenhauer observed, the world is the representation of the will. If your will is so weak that it cannot even sustain a dinner plan, how can it possibly impose itself on the chaos of the world to protect her, to build an empire, to create a life of substance? You have demonstrated that your reality is a fragile sandcastle, and her slightest whim is the incoming tide. This leads directly to the third and most degrading stage, the quest for validation. Having surrendered your own internal compass, you now desperately need her to tell you which way is north. Your actions are no longer driven by your own mission or purpose. They are performances designed to elicit a specific reaction from her. Buy her a gift not from a genuine overflow of your own abundance, but with the anxious hope that her reaction will validate your worth as a provider. You tell a joke and your eyes dart to her face, hungry for the slightest twitch of a smile. If it doesn't come, a wave of cold panic washes over you. You post a photo online, and the only like that matters is hers. You have become a ghost, haunting her perceptions, existing only when her attention shines upon you. Schopenhauer's will to life is a force that strives, that asserts its existence. Your will has ceased to strive for itself. It now strives only for her approval. This neediness is a stench that your words cannot cover. It radiates from you in your posture, in the upward inflection of your voice that turns statements into questions, in the very energy you emit. You are no longer a sovereign entity. You are a satellite, and your entire emotional equilibrium depends on maintaining a stable orbit around her. Her instinct, designed to detect strength and stability, is violently repulsed by this gravitational need. You are not a rock she can anchor to. You are a black hole, threatening to consume her energy to fill the void within yourself. The final, catastrophic stage is a combination of affective dependency and breaking the silence. You are now fully addicted to her validation, and like any addict, you cannot tolerate withdrawal. Her silence becomes a form of torture. That period of a few hours where she doesn't text back is not, to you, a sign that she is busy living her own life. It is a direct and personal attack. The void she leaves creates an unbearable vacuum in your psyche, and you rush to fill it with the most pathetic displays of weakness. This is when you send the dreaded, "Is everything okay?" text. This message is a nuclear bomb detonated in the heart of your own authority. You are not asking about her well-being. You are begging her to regulate your emotions. You are screaming, "Your silence is causing me distress. Please say something, anything to make it stop." You have given her absolute, tyrannical power over your internal state. She learns that by simply doing nothing, she can control you. Her silence is dominance, not desatanso. When you finally get the "we need to talk" conversation, you enter it not as an equal, but as a prisoner pleading for parole. And then you commit the ultimate act of self-castration. You say, "I'm sorry." Not for a specific tangible wrong you have committed, but for the general crime of her being unhappy, and you apologize for her bad mood. You signed your unconditional surrender. You accepted responsibility for her emotional state, a burden no man can carry and no woman can respect. This silent erosion of power is the invisible enemy that has brought you to your knees. To fight an invisible enemy, you must develop a new set of eyes, a new way of seeing the battlefield of human interaction. This is not a request, it is a command. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate all notifications, for each transmission is a weapon for your new arsenal. Drive your thumb into the like button as a physical declaration that you are finished with weakness. Then, go to the comments and answer this question with cold, brutal honesty. What was the one small compromise you made? The one harmless concession that you now realize was the first crack in the dam of your own authority? Now, I can hear the objections forming in your conditioned mind. But isn't compromise a necessary part of any healthy relationship? You are confusing strategic alignment with subservient surrender. Alignment is when two sovereign powers, two solid wills, choose to move in the same direction for mutual benefit. Surrender is when one will collapses in the face of the other out of fear, fear of conflict, fear of loneliness, fear of her disapproval. A king might negotiate a treaty with another king. He does not take orders from him. You were not negotiating. You were capitulating. Another objection. But I don't want to be a cold, unfeeling monster. I want to be a good guy. You have been sold a lie. You believe that good means accommodating and that strong means cruel. This is a deliberate inversion of reality. A rock is not cruel for being solid. A mountain is not evil for being immovable. Your emotional core should be a mountain. Her moods, her tests, her whims are merely weather patterns that break against it. True strength provides a stable, predictable reality, which is the ultimate source of security her primal instincts are programmed to seek. The nice guy who is constantly shifting his reality to match her mood is not a source of comfort. He is a source of chaos. He is terrifyingly unreliable. He has no center. He is a leaf in the wind. She cannot build a nest on a leaf in the wind. The fall was not visible. It didn't happen in a loud argument. It happened in the silence. It happened in your hesitation. It happened in the yes you uttered when your entire being screamed no. No one is coming to save you from this. Only a ruthless self-diagnosis and the will to rebuild can forge you into the man whose reality is so absolute, it can never again be ignored. There is no going back for the weak. There is only construction of the new. Let that sentence burn itself into the circuits of your mind. The man who was left on red, the man who felt the cold sting of her indifference, is dead. You are not here to resuscitate a corpse. You are here to perform an autopsy, salvage the viable organs, and build a new creature from the ashes. This is not a journey of healing. It is an act of tactical engineering. Your emotions are not your guide. They are compromised assets, enemy informants whispering weakness into your ear. From this moment forward, you operate on a simple three-part protocol of reconstruction, a military doctrine for the self. The first command, cut the excess. The second command, install the silence. The third command, control the reaction. First, you will cut the excess. This is a scorched earth policy against your own neediness. You will go through your phone and you will delete her number. You will not archive it. You will not save it in the cloud. You will eradicate it. The impulse to keep it is the addict's impulse to keep a single dose hidden away, just in case. It is the weak man's hope for a future conversation that will never happen on his terms. Then, you will sever all digital lines of sight, unfollow, unfriend, block if necessary. This is not an emotional act of rage. It is a strategic severing of supply lines. Life, her updates, her photos, these are informational weapons she uses, consciously or not, to occupy territory in your mind. By viewing her life, you are willingly submitting to psychological reconnaissance. You are allowing her ghost to patrol the hallways of your consciousness. You cut her off not because you hate her, but because your mental real estate is now prime territory, reserved exclusively for the construction of your empire. The excess also includes the weak men in your circle, the friends who would counsel you to just talk to her, or tell her how you feel. These men are collaborators in your destruction. Their advice is poison, wrapped in sympathy. You will quarantine yourself from their influence. Your war council is now Spartan, consisting only of your mission and the cold logic of power. The second command is to install the silence. This is the most potent weapon in your new arsenal. Your previous self saw silence as a void to be filled. You rushed to fill any conversational lull, any pause in texting, with noise, with anxious energy, with a desperate plea to be noticed. The new man understands that silence is not an absence of communication. It is the most dominant form of it. When you disappear from her reality, you create a vacuum. Her ego, her sense of control, her expectation of your predictable orbit will compel her to probe this vacuum. She will eventually send a message. A casual, hey, a meme, a question about something trivial. This is not an olive branch. It is a sonar ping, sent out to see if the pathetic, emotionally reactive submarine of your former self is still lurking in the depths. The old you would have seen this as a sign of hope. You would have responded instantly, a surge of validation flooding your system. You would have lost the war in a single, eager reply. The new protocol is absolute. You will not respond. Not for an hour. Not for a day. Perhaps not ever. Each second that your phone remains silent after her message arrives is a second that you are deconstructing her power and reconstructing your own. You are teaching her on a primal, non-verbal level that the universe no longer revolves around her. You are no longer the court jester, waiting by the throne for a glance from the queen. You are a king on a campaign in a foreign land, and you have no time for trivial dispatches from a forgotten province. Do not reconquer. Replace with a sharper silence. Her probe will hit a wall of absolute indifference. The silence is your answer. It says, "You do not exist in the reality I am currently building. Your validation is worthless here." The third command is to control the reaction. In the unlikely event that an interaction becomes unavoidable, a chance meeting, a necessary communication through a mutual friend, your reaction will be a masterpiece of controlled indifference. The old you would have been a storm of micro-expressions, a flicker of hope in the eyes, a nervous smile, an awkwardness in your posture. You would have broadcasted your internal state like a faulty radio tower. The new man is a rock. Your emotional state is a fortress, and the gates are sealed. You will offer minimal, dispassionate engagement. Your answers are short, direct, and devoid of emotional investment. Your body language is relaxed, open, but pointed slightly away from her, signaling that your attention and your body are already moving on to the next, more important objective. There is no bitterness, no anger. Those are the reactions of a man who is still emotionally entangled. What you will project is a calm, almost clinical disinterest. The kind of polite detachment one might show to a stranger asking for directions. You are not playing a game of hard to get. You are genuinely, fundamentally, and irreversibly gone. You have moved on to a higher plane of existence, focused on a greater mission. This is the ultimate power play. It communicates that her emotional impact on you has been reduced to zero. She has gone from being the sun in your solar system to a distant, irrelevant star in a galaxy you are no longer exploring. These three commands, cut, silence, control, are merely the external tactics. They are the defensive perimeter you establish while the real work begins. The true reconstruction happens internally, in the forging of undeniable value. You will now redirect every ounce of energy you once spent obsessing over her, and pour it into the four pillars of masculine hierarchy: the physical, the financial, the social, and the symbolic. You will declare war on your physical weakness. Your body becomes a project of disciplined engineering. You will train until the man in the mirror is a stranger to you. Harder, leaner, more capable. This is not for her. This is because a powerful will must reside in a powerful vessel. You will declare war on your financial mediocrity. Your career or business is now your primary campaign. You will become ruthless in your pursuit of competence, of status, of resources. Money is not just currency. It is a quantified measure of your ability to impose your will upon the world. You will declare war on your social insignificance. You will build a network of strong, ambitious men. You will become a leader, a man of value within your tribe. Your status will no longer be dependent on the approval of one woman, but on the respect of many men. And finally, you will forge your symbolic power, your mission, your purpose. The thing you are dedicated to that is bigger than yourself, bigger than any woman. This is your crown. A man without a mission is a ship without a rudder, and no woman wants to board a vessel destined to drift. Schopenhauer wrote that, "A man's character is his fate." The character of your former self was weak, needy, and validation-seeking. Its fate was, therefore, rejection and irrelevance. Forging a new character, one of discipline, ambition, and sovereign self-possession, you are not hoping for a new fate. You are using the raw materials of reality and constructing it yourself. This is not a game of strategy. The outcome is not left to chance. It is engineered by relentless application of will. To continue this re-engineering process, you must arm yourself. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate the war bell for all notifications, so you never miss a tactical briefing. Drive your thumb into the like button as a symbolic act of shattering the mirror of your former self. Then, descend to the comments section, the muster ground for this new army. I want you to declare the one single area of your life, your physique, your finances, your mission, where you will now declare total war and achieve absolute victory. What is your primary target? Make your declaration public. A man who wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who imposes his presence will be feared, and consequently, desired on a level the pleading nice guy can never comprehend. No longer be a presence that implores. You will become an absence that weighs, a silence that roars. You will become the man whose reality is so powerful, so compelling, that her attraction is no longer a choice she makes, but a gravitational law she is forced to obey. And so, the circle closes. The screen that was once your tormentor, the cold blue light that confirmed your insignificance, illuminates a new message. It's her name. For weeks, or perhaps months, of the deafening silence you imposed, the ghost has returned to haunt the machine. It is not a grand apology. It is not a declaration of regret. It is something far more pathetic and far more predictable. A simple, lowercase hey. Or perhaps a link to something you once talked about, a transparent attempt to feign a shared reality that no longer exists. The man you were would have felt a jolt, a surge of adrenaline mixed with a toxic dose of hope. His heart would have hammered against his ribs, a prisoner rattling the bars of his cage. He would have seen this as a victory, a sign that his pain had finally registered on her emotional radar. He would have deliberated for hours, crafting the perfect, witty, yet nonchalant reply. He would have re-entered the game, believing he now had the upper hand. He would have lost all over again. But that man is a corpse you buried long ago. You see the notification. Thumb hovers over the screen. There is no emotional storm. There is no rush of vindictive pleasure. There is only a calm, clinical observation, the way a biologist might observe a predictable instinct in a lesser creature. Not because you are suppressing anger, but because the emotional circuit that once connected her to your sense of self-worth has been permanently severed. Her message is a sonar ping, sent into the abyss where your needy, supplicating self used to reside. But the abyss doesn't ping back. It is not empty. It is simply a different universe now, operating on laws of physics she cannot comprehend. You do not reply. You do not block her. You do not even delete the message. Simply turn your phone over, place it on the table, and return your attention to the only thing that matters, your mission. Her message sits there, a digital ghost, left on red for an eternity. The diagnosis she once delivered to you in silence, you now return to her with an indifference so profound it borders on the sublime. You did not flip the chessboard to scatter her pieces in a fit of rage. You simply stood up and walked away from the table. You realized that the prize she offered, her validation, her attention, was not worth the price of admission to a game rigged against you from the start. Your victory was not in checkmating the queen. Your victory was in realizing you were the king of a much larger, more significant empire, and you had been wasting your time playing checkers in a provincial village. This is the ultimate expression of Schopenhauer's will. Your will is no longer a starving dog begging for scraps from her table. It is a conquering force, carving out its own territory in the real world. You have become the architect of a reality so compelling, so dense with purpose and power, that her world seems like a faded photograph of a place you vaguely remember visiting as a child. The emotional vengeance you craved is not found in her tears or her regret. That is the fantasy of a boy. The vengeance of a king is her slow, dawning realization that she no longer has any emotional effect on you whatsoever. It is the chilling discovery that she cannot hurt you, cannot anger you, cannot please you, because you have moved so far beyond her gravitational pull that she has become an irrelevant celestial body. Your silence is no longer a tactic. It is a fundamental state of being. It is the silence of a mountain, which does not roar at the wind, but simply exists, unmoved, forcing the weather to break against it. Respect is not a gift she grants you when you've been a good boy. Respect is the tax you levy on the world simply by existing in your most powerful form. It is imposed by your absence. It is commanded by your coldness. It is cemented by the undeniable legacy you are building, brick by painful brick, in the ashes of the man she thought she knew. This is the final command. This is the permanent installation of your new operating system. Solidify your commitment to this path of absolute dominion. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate the war bell for all notifications, ensuring you are armed for every battle to come. Drive your thumb into the like button, not as a request, but as a final, definitive strike against the weakness you have left behind. And now, descend to the comments, the digital war camp of this new brotherhood, and answer this one question with the cold clarity of a king. As you stand on the precipice of your new reality, what is the one toxic hope, the one draining person, or the one pathetic weakness you will now permanently execute to guarantee your rise? Make your declaration. Let the world witness your ascension. Remember this, always. You don't win her back. You make her a forgotten footnote in the biography of the man you were destined to become.